Hi everybody, this video has been long overdue. My name is Dr. Star, people just call me Star, and I am currently a general surgery resident in New York City, and welcome to my YouTube channel. The purpose of my channel, I want to just spread awareness on the process of medical school, how to get into medical school, how to study better, give you all a little insight into residency, the residency process, and just to also encourage women that look like me, because I know that there's not a lot of women, specifically Black women, women of color, that's online making content for other aspiring doctors. And I think it's really beneficial to have someone that look like you, because I feel like when I was coming up, I didn't really have that. But let's get into the chit chat. So my name is Star. I am currently a second year general surgery resident in New York City. I am originally from New Orleans. I was the youngest of four. I was born with a twin brother. My mom, she was majority a single mom during my entire life, as she was a registered nurse. And that's actually what made me get into medicine. Because of her, she really wanted to be an OBGYN, and I really wanted to follow that path in medicine like her. So that's what inspired me to, pursue that route. Initially though, I wanted to be a nurse just like her. I was actually going to school to be a nurse practitioner, but I had a teacher growing up when I was in high school told me, why be a nurse when you could be a doctor? And I just never looked back since. So I went to high school in New Orleans. I went to McMain High School in Uptown New Orleans. I had really good teachers that encouraged me to go to an HBCU, because initially I was going to go to LSU, because LSU was giving me a full ride there, and it was close. So, but I had a teacher that really, really wanted me to go to an HBCU, and I was not going to Xavier. No offense, I love my Xavier friends, but I just did not want to stay in New Orleans. So I decided to apply to Spelman. It was, I don't know, I really, didn't even expect to really get in. But I applied through like the early decision at Spelman, and I got in. And it was the best decision that I ever made. It was going to Spelman. During my journey at Spelman, I was really, really focused on my goal, which is being a doctor. Like, I was involved in some of the extracurricular activities, but not as much as I should have been, because I really was focused on getting into medical school. And then I was a biology major, and the people who go to Spelman, they know biology was no joke. Like, a lot of people come to Spelman, they become biology majors, and literally like half of the people drop out after, because it's really, really hard there. I really was focused on my studies the majority of the time at Spelman, but I had a lot of friends that we would hang out, but I wasn't really into the clubs and stuff like that. So my route into medical school was unconventional. I got into medical school, accepted into medical school at the end of my sophomore year, which is not a normal thing. I got into an early acceptance program with Spelman, with the medical school that I went to. So Spelman has multiple different early acceptance programs with different medical schools. It's essentially called pipeline programs. There's also like national programs as well that are well known, like Mount Sinai. I decided to apply into the University of Rochester, was one of the pipeline programs. Some of the requirements that the program had is that you had to have a certain GPA, you had to have taken these many science classes, you had to do the interview process, but you did not have to take the MCAT. So that was a seller for me. I ended up interviewing there, and they loved me. They really loved me. And I think that for them, they loved, my background and how the different, adversity that I went through and the things that they thought sort of aligned with their medical school. So I honestly, during that interview process, I knew I was accepted, because my interviewer basically was like, yeah, we need you to come here. So my last 2 years in college, I was like, okay, what's next? Like, I know what I'm doing after college. So I started getting into, really working on myself. I was really into reading personal development books, and I actually started doing real estate. And that was a fun venture that I got into before I started medical school. So after I finished at Spelman, I went into medical school, right? Before I started medical school, I think most people do this, where they go and try and figure out, okay, what's the best ways to study, try and get some insight into, medical school, so that you can prepare. And when I tell you, nothing prepared me for medical school, nothing. It's just one of those things where you have to go through on your own to really understand the process. I spoke to different, medical students. I read different books from other medical students, or people who went to medical school and wrote books about it. And I feel like, they gave insight into what it was like, but going through it is a completely different process, I'm telling you. But I decided to go to the University of Rochester because, their mission aligned with what I believed in at the time. And I thought it was, honestly, it was a really good gig. to be honest, where I got accepted at the end of my sophomore year, didn't have to take the MCAT, and it was just a really good thing for me. Like that pipeline program was really good for me and what I wanted to do with my life. But one thing that was really hard for me was the fact that I had to move all the way to New York, not just, New York City, but upstate New York, which is way different. I'm from the South, from New Orleans. Lived in Atlanta, and then now I had to go to New York. I didn't realize how difficult of a transition that would be, but it was so hard. To give some advice to some people, when you're thinking about medical school, you really do have to think about long term. I was so focused and goal oriented and tunnel vision to where I didn't really think about, how hard it would be being that I moved so far from home, the weather difference, the culture difference, But thank God I met some great people in medical school. My best friend from medical school, so we thugged it out, during that time. But it was hard. I think that probably the most difficult thing for me in medical school was the culture shock, and the weather, and it was really really hard for me. But the school that I went to was so amazing, So medical school was tough, and I don't ever want to, try and make it seem like it wasn't a tough thing to go through. It really, really was tough, especially being a person who I really wanted to do plastic surgery, and that's one of the toughest specialties to get into, and that made my experience even more of a tough thing to go through because you have to do a lot of research, get publications, and a lot of people now take research years while they're in medical school, and I just did not want to do that. And also you have to do away rotations. I did a couple away rotations at Yale and other programs, and it's tough, especially as a medical student, being that you don't have any resources or you don't have any money, right? And I don't come from a family that is well off, so I had to figure it out. It was really tough my last 2 years in medical school, but we make it through it. So after I graduated medical school, nobody could tell me nothing. I was on top of the world, and then residency hit. I spent my intern year at Baylor. So I ended up not matching in plastic surgery. And I ended up getting a prelim year at Baylor. My family knew the people at Baylor, and I just got it during that time. I think it was definitely meant for me to go to Texas during this time. But so I ended up getting my first year, prelim year at Baylor. Oh, that I love Baylor so much. I love all the people. Baylor is a great, great program. But when I tell you, I literally worked over 80 hours a week. That's how I felt. It was a shock to me. We're back. My light went out. Sorry about that. Where was I? So residency was such a culture shock for me. I mean, I'm telling you, like residents would say all the time, enjoy medical school, enjoy the time. Once you start residency, it's gonna be a lot more time, like whatever. But oh, it was such a shock. But I'm a really hardworking person. Obviously, a person who chooses surgery, you have a certain work ethic that most people just don't have. I mean, it is what it is. But when I first started, it was sort of adrenaline. Adrenaline run. It was a bunch of adrenaline initially as when I started, and I used to have fun. To be honest, I think that it didn't really bother me at first until you get a vacation. When those vacations hit, you're like, I work too much. You start to really feel the impact of residency. Yeah, it was a lot. So after that, I decided to, continue the process of general surgery because at that point I was like, okay, plastics is really tough to get into. I don't, at the time, I just did not feel like doing all that extra stuff to get a plastic surgery position. It's really, really tough. And because like the program's only 2 positions, I just had time. So I'm like, okay, let me find a second year position somewhere, and I end up finding positions here because people drop out all the time in general surgery because general surgery is just one of those specialties where it's like, you get into it and you're like, it's not what I thought it would be. And a lot of people just switch. I think it's like 20% of people who get into general surgery residency decide to leave, quit their job and do something else. So it's a very common thing. So I ended up getting a second year position at my program right now. And I can definitely say, just like, give some advice. The program you go to matters a lot, right? The people matters, like the people that you work with matters a whole lot because it'll make or break your experience, as a resident. And that's all I'm gonna say. So when you go on these interviews, and you really love a program, I would encourage you to just talk to as many residents as possible to get the real scoop on how these programs work because, the camaraderie that you have with your residents matters so much because general surgery is so tough. It takes so much time, energy. It's so hard. General surgery is so hard because you have to know how to do everybody's job. You really do. But it's tough. And on top of that, you have to know how to do the surgeries. You have to know how to do the procedures. You have to know all the anatomy. You have to know so much. General surgery is tough because it's medicine and surgery put together. And it's just a tough thing to do. So I speak to women a lot because a lot of women want, inquire about being a surgeon. I completely encourage women all the time to do surgery. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you have to experience it for yourself. Just like how medical school is, you have to experience surgery for yourself. And a lot of people, when they are medical students, they know for sure if they want to do surgery or if they don't want to do surgery. But yes, general surgery is tough. I can talk more about that in a different video. So, but let's get back on track on what this video about my life, right? So right now, I'm currently a second year general surgery resident. This is where I'm at right now in my life. I am currently on TikTok doing content, very inconsistent, but now I feel compelled to share my story with you all and also educate the public. I really want to decrease this health literacy gap that we have, especially in low income, people of color, Black communities. I really want to educate, our community on what's going on, what as far as health wise and what you need to look for. I'm really passionate about that. I love one of the best things I love about my job is that I love educating patients on things. Like I would sit there and talk to you all day. I don't care how much time that it takes. Like if I have to go somewhere else, I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk to you so that you understand what's going on with your health. That's just who I am. My medicine is such a beautiful thing. I love being a doctor. Thank God for allowing me to be a doctor in this lifetime. I get so emotional about it because, where my life was before, I think about when I was in high school, really going through a lot, really trying to figure out my life. I did not foresee where I am right now. And I thank God every day for the position that he's put me in. And that right there means so much to me. But I'm ready for residency to be over because it sucks so bad. Just everybody's gonna say it. Residency is just one of those things that you just want it to go by because the amount of hours that you work, the time that you put in, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like I said, I will talk about it later. Residency is a whole nother thing that I'm going to talk about with you all later. Anyway, right now I've been trying to balance, continuing with my personal development and trying to be a better human being for my family, for my partner, for my patients and everything. I love working out. I'm trying to continue to do that. I love eating healthy. I'm also trying to continue that. It's just very difficult sometimes when you're so busy, you work so many hours. It's very time consuming and exhausting to where you don't get to really focus on things that you love. But right now I'm really honing into the things that I love. I love educating people. I love, I want to see the progression of Black people. I'm sad that, where the world is going as far as, with this DEI situation. I think that, Black people were needed in these health spaces. Decisions that are made on behalf of some, of these patients, I think will be better if people like me and you are there to give different perspectives based on where we come from and our upbringing. I think that sometimes it just is what it is. We just being different cultures, you don't understand how certain cultures how it works. You don't know how to convey messages the same because of a cultural difference. And I think that's okay to know that there are cultural differences, but we're definitely needed. The fact that there is a decrease in Black students, Hispanics, Indigenous students that got into medical school in this following year is very alarming. So I want to come on here and spread knowledge and give you all lifestyle, see what it's like to be a doctor so that you can make an informed decision. Obviously, I'm just one, person. Everyone's experience is different. But just to give you, I'm just here to give you my experiences on things and show you my lifestyle. But yeah, it was nice talking with you all. I hope you all learned something from this video. Also, I have to do the thing that YouTubers do. Like and subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more information about this. If you're aligned with, wanting to be a doctor or wanting to know more or see the lifestyle of what a doctor, resident physician, surgery resident physician look like, continue to follow my page, like this video, and guess what? I will see y'all later. Bye.